I'm going to get started in about 60 seconds or so. Just give the last people a chance to join.
Hi, Christian. Hi, Dinsdale. Hi, David. Hi, Shim. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Damien. Hi, Don. Hi, Claire. Leo. Yeah, so just type in the box that you can see and hear us. You should be able to see and hear myself, Drew, and Steve. Yeah, the answer is yes, Michelle. Hi, Ruella. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Dan. Glad to hear it, Glad to hear it, Dinsdale.
Going to get started in about 15 seconds, just allow the last few people to come in. If you're just joining, just to check the technology first. If you can see and hear us okay, just give us a hello in the chat box, just so we know. I should be able to hear me, Terry, and Steve.
Hi, Bradley. Hi, Dom.
Good stuff. So, welcome, guys. It is, what's the date today? It's now 3 minutes past 3 UK time on the 23rd of July 2020, and welcome to this week's live training. It's going to be slightly different this week in that it's not going to be a training as such. It's going to be an interview with one of our clients, Steve Haig. We'll get to sort of Steve's story in a minute, but it's going to be sharing, his journey, what's worked for him, what hasn't, and the lessons that he's learned along the way. Before we sort of dive into that, just a bit of housekeeping. So tomorrow at 3 p.m, we've got a session called Triage Feeders and Conversion Secrets. So that's for you if you want to now to get more appointments with decision makers in your market or convert more of those appointments into sales. Next month, so August, we've got our usual weekly sessions, but we've also got a 2-day virtual intensive on the 21st and 20th and 21st.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I will double check that though, Drew. So you keep talking.
Yeah, I think it's the 20th and 21st. So it's a Thursday and Friday. We've got a 2-day intensive from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's UK time. Those of you that were at our last intensive about 3 months ago will know what it's about. But essentially, it's going to be a 2-day live event similar to our sort of the trainings that we do weekly. But it's going to be bigger, better, more intense. We've got Darren and Mike both doing the session, and also we've got a few things planned based on what we've been working on behind the scenes as well. So that's coming up. All the details will be put in the Facebook group. So make sure you register, make sure you bring the team along. I promise you it will be transformational for your business if you implement what we share anyway. Terry, anything you want to add on the housekeeping side?
Not on the housekeeping side. I'm absolutely delighted to have Steve with us today. I really am. Steve and I go back a long time, don't we, Steve? How many years have we known each other?
I don't want to cough up to that one, Terry. It's been a long time. Because you came over to York many years ago now, wasn't it?
Yes, that was about 8 years ago. So probably about 10 years?
Oh, 10 years, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And you've said before it's the best 10 years of your life, or was that effect?
Well, no, in all honesty, to everybody that's clocked on, hopefully I'll say something useful that will help you in your journey. But Terry's one of the people that's really pushed my business on, helped me. You have your sort of like your wall of gratitude with people, and Terry's definitely on there. So you guys, he has got a lot to offer, particularly on the marketing and the development side of things, and I learned a lot.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Steve. We're going to see a whole series of questions. And by the way, guys, if you've got any questions for Steve, please feel free. And Steve's really open to taking questions from everybody as we go along. But I think I mentioned in the email, one of the reasons we're doing this, we're passionate believers in what's called modeling success. What psychologists found is if you adopt the behavior and the beliefs of somebody that's highly successful and do what they do, you're going to get similar results. And this is all about, we're going to be talking to Steve about his journey from being a rookie recruiter to a cash millionaire. And I kind of touched it a few months ago. I didn't give Steve's name at the time, but Steve sent me a text saying that he was now a cash millionaire, and I was absolutely delighted with. Was really keen then to get him on this call. So thank you very much for joining us. Without further ado, let's get on with it. So let's give us a brief overview of who you are, Steve, what you do to start off with, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah, so I'm Steve, and we my business is called the Retiring Group. So we've got a number of business models in various sectors. And what we essentially do, from a recruitment background, but we identify and locate retiring individuals and sell their businesses for them. So that doesn't sound like anything to do with recruitment, but if I'll go through it. We started off headhunting, and in the last recession, we got driven to focusing on older people with a client bank, and then from that into, well, up to sort of like £10 million transactions on mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah. So give us some idea of the niches that you work in now, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. So the financial services space, so we sell wealth management firms. So that's anything from the guy that comes along and sells you a mortgage or a protection through to people that are managing money, pensions, investments. So we'd sell those businesses, which came on the back of the last recession when we were recruiting in that space, which you might want me to go into in a little bit. But then we've got the dentistry side. So we sell the retiring dentist, which sells dental businesses, and then we've got retiring accountant, which does exactly the same thing, but for accountancy firms. So people that are offering tax advice, people that are doing the books, the VAT returns, things like that. So we sell their businesses.
Awesome, yeah. And some of you guys have met Steve's daughter, Kimberly. I know Darren, Mike, a few of you guys have met. And Steve, Kimberly concentrates on the dentistry.
Dentistry, yeah, absolutely. She's just got 3 deals in the last 7 weeks, so she's really rocketing.
Yeah, awesome. And just very quickly, just to say aside, we're just talking this off camera. One of the reasons Steve went down the road of dentistry, because it was when we talked about it years ago, it was, in our wisdom, it was recession proof.
Completely recession proof. Solid as the government.
Yeah. But just very quickly, just tell us about some of the challenges you're having with dentists right now in view of the pandemic and what's going on.
Yeah, like you were saying, so we entered dentistry really with a viewpoint because the wealth management space gets hit because it's cogent with the stock market. So those guys' fortunes goes up and down with that. Accountancy gets hit as well because obviously people like to kick their accountant, when you want to save some money. So I thought, well, what's good? Dentistry. Dentistry will be great because people are always going to need the teeth doing, and it's supported by the government, and so it won't be at the mercy of market forces. Then, of course, the next recession is brought on by a virus that spread from the nose and the mouth. Dentistry is completely shut down, put into the NHS, and now you've got no idea how profitable or unprofitable dentistry is, because they're having to work under a completely different situation than they've ever had before.
Yeah.
But the challenges they've got PPE issues, they've got how many people they can have in the waiting rooms, that they've got all sorts of challenges. But if you're operating in that sector, obviously it's as flat as a pancake at the moment.
Yeah. But hey, who could have predicted?
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I mean, you got to take the positive on that. At least there'll be no one left to compete against, will there? So.
Good man. Before you got into that, Steve, and sorry, I'll let you ask a question. I'm just interested. Just tell us a bit about your recruitment background, because that's when I met you when you were
absolutely
a recruiter.
Yeah, so I did 15 years on a desk. So joined recruitment more or less straight out of university. Went to work for a guy I met in a pub, as is often the way with these things. He spotted me talking and gassing a lot in the corner and thought I could get a headhunter out of him. So I did that. First year I was quite successful. It doesn't sound like much now, but it was 150,000 in a new sector which I developed for him. But that was when 150 grand was good performance. It's obviously changed since then, but we're talking 20 years ago. Then he promoted me to looking after the team. So there was 3 on the team. So we got up to about £500,000, £600,000 production. Then struck off on my own quite early due to just really being time to push on and some pressure from some other sides. But basically did the similar thing to what I was doing for him, but for myself. And had a great time of it without realizing how lucky or how easy it was to do well until the financial recession hit. And that was a bit of a leveler for us, really.
So is that the financial crash of
2008, 2009? So our space, if you want me to go into it, we were recruiting financial advisors, mortgage advisors, regulated, their managers and the various other levels as far up as the food chain as we could get our paws into, But it all just went flat. It all just absolutely stopped because at that time, the banks had no money. They just culled all of our contracts disappeared. So, you know, HSBC was one at the time, and HSBC, we were doing about £250,000 with them. And then one day we woke up to realize that they'd taken a master vendor PSL from somewhere else. So we weren't on the list anymore. Same thing with Barclays and then Lloyds, and they all just went down because they were making thousands of these people redundant. So the last thing they wanted to do was to pay me a fee to go find them, you know? So that really, so the market was gone. So, you know, what do you do in that situation? Well, you try and find where the market is. Where does demand exceed supply? Where can I charge to go and find people? What's rare and what's in demand in this marketplace? So, you know, you fall back on your skills as a recruiter, and you know, what have you got? You've got a plethora of candidates who've got a lot of time on their hands to contact you, who might be able to give them a job. But obviously you haven't got time to speak to candidates all the time, because usually, I don't know if your people are finding this, the struggle is getting new clients in a recession. You know, candidates are often 10 a penny, whereas clients are like rocking horse poo, you know. So looked at some tools and techniques, and, you know, pushing on my skill set there to third-party access, to try and convincing candidates who found a job not via myself, that they should give me a call and use me as third-party access to introduce them to that vacancy, which was relatively successful, relying on the old referencing, which I'm sure your people do, you know, going through candidates' previous employers with a view to using the referencing call to opening up a new account. You know, how did he get on? How good was he? By the way, what's your recruitment plans? I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask. Asking candidates what vacancies they had, or what vacancies in their current firm that there were. So sort of like an assumed close on that, which proved very successful. And really trying to keep in touch with the candidates as well as developing the new clients, but really with the view of accessing to see where these candidates were going, which sector were they moving into, because obviously that then proves that they've got some skills in that sector, and that's where I was trying to move the business to. So we did all right. We moved into employee benefits from there, and also debt consolidation, because some of the candidates were moving into debt consolidation and employee benefits. So that's one of the things I'd share with you guys. You know, follow where your candidates, if you are in a bad sector, follow where your candidates are getting jobs, because then at least you can activate your back database towards that.
Good point. Excellent. Drew, I know I just interrupted you.
So Steve, there's three things we really want to sort of dig into, or three things we typically dig into when we do these interviews. Model, so what business model we use and what's working for you. Strategy,
sure.
Also mindset as well. I think, you know, because I know your background's recruitment, but you've sort of moved away from that. We'll probably spend less time talking about model just for now.
Yeah.
But what I do think is interesting is you've taken a lot of strategies that we teach and use for recruiters, and you've used it in your current business model. I want to hear about how that's working, and also like some of the mindset shifts that you've been through as well. But just to say to everyone else, I think you know, this isn't unique to Steve, but when we get people on for these interviews and you hear stories of what's working, what's not, people tend to think, oh, my industry's different. Oh, that person works in construction, that person works in food and ingredients. So my industry is different. So I just want sort of everyone here, although Steve's in a different industry now, the strategies that he's using are still relevant, and especially the mindset stuff is still relevant as well. So I guess, approach it with an open mind. Just want to check in, does that make sense? Give me a yes or no in the chat box. Awesome. So, if we start with, you know, have a quick look at model. I know you've sort of touched on it already. You mentioned some of the reasons you moved away from recruitment into what you do now. Can you sort of tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, when I say I moved away from recruitment, let's be honest, all I applied was the same logic as I've always done running my recruitment desk, which is to source the people and provide the service which the clients cannot do themselves. So to specialize in an area where candidates are in demand and are rare. So strategically, I think as long as people are doing that, and that's a good question to ask, you know, because what you can't do is make money finding people if the people aren't rare or are not in demand. So I guess I was rushing through there, but that's sort of like the key concept. Now, in my sector, that became salespeople who brought their own client banks, which then led to me finding and specializing in those people. But if it had led me a different way, I would have, still been a recruiter. So I am a recruiter, or what I'm doing is introducing people just who are in demand at the moment. But that could have well gone in any way. So I would definitely, you've got to be specializing in an area where demand still exceeds supply. And obviously there's always growth areas, no matter what the economy is doing, there's always growth areas.
Yeah.
So it's just really, and there's also sub niches in what you're doing. So there's always still that type of candidate where if you were specialized in that, and if you were directing your marketing towards hiring managers, business owners that are potentially interested in that type of person, then you're going to have more success than if you're doing something that isn't in demand. So that would be the strategic model I'd say everyone should go for, no matter what sector they're in, should be, what can I still charge a fee for? Because to the degree that a candidate's in demand, and to the degree that we're struggling to find those people, is to the degree that they need us, right? So
yeah. I just think on that, it's a really good point you've made about supply and demand. And often, certainly for the new guys that are on this call, one of the things that they often say is, my market won't pay a higher fee, they won't pay a retainer. But you want to consider that if there's a shortage of candidates, the hiring manager can't say to you, there's a shortage of candidates, but I'm only going to pay you 10, 15%. The whole law of supply and demand says, if there's a shortage of candidates, you're going to have to pay more. We're all well aware we have a pandemic all throughout the world. And in the UK, for some reason, it's best known to, I don't know who, but there was a shortage of toilet rolls. And toilet rolls went up by 25%. They didn't go down because there was an increase in demand. And then everybody was complaining. Toilet rolls are going up by 24% to be exact, they went up by, because the law of supply and demand dictates that. But exactly the same applies to you if you're working in that market where there's shortage of good candidates. Exactly the same. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that.
It is, absolutely. And do you know, with hiring managers or business owners, decision makers, that your clients, when the pandemic hit, I went to get my son a laptop because he wanted a gaming laptop and he needed to do some schoolwork. So, I wanted to get him a new laptop. And I went into PC World or whatever it was, presuming I'd be able to get a great deal. Because I was just, in my mind, I was thinking, well, who's going to be buying laptops? And I got a real sharp shock that they'd sold out and there was only one laptop left. And it's the same mentality that you need to have with the hiring managers. Reality is not what it is, it's what they think it is. And what they think reality is to a large degree your construct that you can put them out there. So you can, if your hiring managers believe these people are hard to find, believes that you're busy, believes that you've got plenty of other stuff on, then as long as that's their reality, then they'll pay whatever fees that reality dictates to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, hopefully it makes sense.
Sometimes they need a good flick on the nose that, I'm not desperate for this business, and actually these people are in demand, and, why would I put it to you why would I waste a really good person on you? I can put it somewhere else.
Yeah, and true touch the mindset there.
Or whatever, or no retainer or whatever,
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Don's asked a question, what steps did you take or information did you use to measure demand? Or how did you know to what direction to go in?
Yeah, well, there's a number of more advanced measures now, but then it would be how much interest I was getting if I was marketing out candidates, monitoring search assignments in. So what you can do is you can predict. Anyone can predict that they're going to have a problem with cash flow when they've realized that they've got no fees for 2 months. But you'll see earlier on your search assignments or job orders, whatever phrase you use these days, will drop down first. So you start to see less job orders, less search assignments coming in, less responsiveness when you're picking up the phone to your clients, keeping in touch with clients, and certainly less response when you're marketing candidates out. And it's also talking to the clients, what type of people are you struggling to find? If I was to come across that type of person, how interested would you be? And you're trying to always find out where the sub niche is in relation to your sector. So for example, accountancy might be flat as a recruiting sector, but American tax specialists, given we're joining their systems and economic zone, I would think are probably in demand. But it's asking those questions to find out where people are struggling. So I mean, there's surveys now. There's all sorts of other things. But I was just simple, just marking how many calls it took to get a job order on.
Yeah. Awesome. I hope that answers your question, Don. There about steps for gathering the information.
Just for everyone else, does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. And if you've got any questions, ask as well. So yeah, I just want to go back to something that you mentioned there. It's really about positioning and how you position what you do.
Yeah.
What sort of I guess early thoughts on that, and how's that changed since obviously you're now more successful than you were? Has your thoughts on positioning changed in the marketplace?
Well, I think you guys helped with that enormously, because to me it's all about the frame. Everything goes on within a frame, and it's where they place you in their social hierarchy, their interpretation of who you are as a professional. Are you a telesales person that's trying to rip them off, or are you a valued consultant that helps them grow the business? And I think a lot of the difference between people that are good on a desk and aren't is that ability to frame themselves, to get the posture right, to get the positioning right. And it's something that's actually difficult to do without any assistance if you haven't got a lot of experience or you're new in the game. I'm not saying it's just a mark of experience, but handling people, telling them some stories of, training them to work your way. This is all difficult stuff. But what helps immensely is if they've seen a webinar of you, or if they've seen the ebook or the white paper or the cheat sheet or the various other things which give you that expert authority status. And once that's on, you've got to ruin that frame rather than build it yourself. So a lot of the content marketing that you guys first shared with me, and that methodology and way, I think really helps with framing.
So obviously we can get on tactics in a minute, but you're saying that all the marketing stuff that's there for lead generation is also helping you frame your business and your offering in a certain way, at the same time.
Absolutely. So if I were to do whatever candidates were still in demand, or whatever candidates I've decided to try and specialize in, if I release a salary survey, the new methods of how they're being paid, how to keep hold of your staff, how to understand whether you're overpaying or even underpaying. But the fact that I've got that knowledge automatically places me in a different world to hello, I'm Steve. You don't know me, but would you like to meet this person, or whatever is my script.
Yeah, awesome. And what about so how does that impact the fee that you're able to command? Like, what are your thoughts on that in terms of how you positioned? How's that linked to the fee that you're able to charge, or the fee?
So in terms of the way that you're framing yourself as the authority expert.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, it's massive, isn't it? Because people need to. If you're the expert and you have something which, you can find something which they cannot find themselves, and other people, you're perceived as the expert, that enables you to charge a significant premium. And that premium's massive. Now that premium could be in the form, like you guys said, as it could be in the money, the men, the minutes. There's lots of different ways of cost. So you could charge more, or you could guarantee that your work is rewarded by the retainer, or charging on offer and acceptance, or charging upon a shortlist being approved. So there's lots of different ways you can go about that. Because often I've found with some hiring managers, it very much depends if you're dealing with a business owner or whether you're dealing with somebody who's reporting to a gorilla. So the person who's reporting to the gorilla, so your HR person or your someone who's got a budget, wants to look good to whoever they report to. So as long as you can see it from their side and give them something that they can say, well, look, the fees were 30% and we got it for 25%. As long as they can look good to the boss, then you can. That's the key thing, is to you help get what you want by helping everyone get what they want, right? And if you can do that with business owners, it's a little bit more tricky, but certainly with anybody that's not actually paying the check themselves but has a budget, I found that's much easier.
Interesting. Interesting. We've talked a lot about ego. You've touched on something there about looking good, and that's a really good point, that as human beings, by the way, we all want to look good. And what Steve's identified here is that, you know, the number two, perhaps the number two, or the HR person wants to look good. And for you to convince them to do what it is you want to do, you've got to help them look good to their line manager.
Yeah.
And again, this is all about the ego, because we all want to look good, always, despite what we sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, Terry. You know, because if you've got a HR person who's there on 50, 80 grand, whatever, they've got to justify their existence. So part of that is to, look what I did, boss. I've done this or done that. So as long as you can make that person look good and feel that they've got something to not prove their existence, but you know what I'm saying, then that works for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is you can be a little bit creative in this, but ultimately it's how much cash you're going to get and how likely you are to get it. And there's lots of different ways of doing that.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for that, Steve.
Awesome. So, look, this I want to come away from model, because what I really want to talk about is tactics and strategy, because you have a few clients like this, but you're one of the, I think Dad would agree, like the most aggressive implementers. Like we say something with 10 idea, and it's like before we've even finished the call, oh yeah, I've just done that. So again, I know there's lots that you do. But if you could pick sort of, just for the guys listening, like if you could just pick, your top 3 or 5 things. If we said to you, look, Steve, over the next year, you have to drop everything else, but you can only use 5 things. What will those 5 things be?
I mean, just on that, say I implement stuff, and I'll get to the 3 or 5 things definitely. But I can't remember which book it was I read it in, but it was, if it's worth doing, it should have been done yesterday. So, or if it's worth doing, it should have already been done. And I understood that, and I've really adopted that as my own. And I think that's helpful across all parts of life, right? If it's worth doing, it should have already been done. It should have been done a week ago. So, get on and do it. And I think that's certainly a key thing, that I do get stuff done. It's action that creates stuff. There's no point thinking about stuff. Of course, you've got to have strategy. Of course, you've got to put some thoughts, but you only get paid when you ship, right? You only get paid when you get that webinar out there. You only get paid when you get that job filled. You only get paid when something happens, and it's action that makes stuff happen. So yeah, absolutely. So what was it? 3 to 5 what marketing tools, or 3 to 5?
If you had to drop, if you wanted to maintain or grow your business, you have to drop everything else. But Steve, can only pick a handful of things. What would those sort of your core strategies be?
Mine, well, we enjoy being top of Google, so we enjoy a lot of the SEOing. I still believe in search. I think search is key. So it's not the be all and end all, but it's definitely where we get a lot of traction, because we use the initial SEOing, and maybe you can't get to be top for, I don't know, construction jobs, because you're fighting against Reed or Monster or whatever. But there's lots of search terms, so getting a blog out there, getting something out there to target specific search terms to put you at the top on some of the key things that the people that you're after are typing. I found that very useful, because that mixed with a cookie on the computer, a Facebook pixel, a Google cookie, and you can chase those people around the internet forever. And then all of a sudden, I was saying before, that their reality is what they think it is. Well, you're everywhere. Anything to do with construction jobs, you're there, you're following them around wherever they go. So all they see is you, all they hear is you. You're following them around everywhere. They're popping up on Facebook, you're popping up on baking sites or whatever. And that I found is pretty powerful. So getting them straight there with a good offering on the website, but then following that up with a remarketing only pay-per-click, offering some other form of content, because some are readers and some are viewers. So you're trying to just, take it, change what you're cooking up each time, So yeah, I guess the remarketing comes into that. During the pandemic, I found Facebook videos really powerful. I found that very, very good. And of course, with Facebook, you can dump your email lists in there, but you've also got this pixel. So that's building up all the time from the SEO, and the two work very well together. So the videos are pulling really well. I mean, that's all lead generation. Conversion, I would never stop the...
I'm shocked that you haven't said email.
Yeah, I am as well, actually.
I'm in the spam bin. Everybody's put me in the spam bin. No. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking on just lead generation stuff, email obviously works really well still.
Just on that, Steve, how often are you emailing out to your list?
Twice a week to each list. So twice a week. So we'll do one content and then one 9-worder.
Every week?
Every week. Trying to make it on something on point. So something about something useful. But you can regurgitate a lot of your content as well. So if I did a video on Facebook, I'll also put it out in the email, and I'll also, put it out on YouTube. So I'll try and kill. It's just trying to get it out there, isn't it? Because the more times you put it under somebody's nose, the more chance you've got of someone biting, right? So let's throw the bread on the water. I'm a big believer in overkill.
So you're sort of really big on. Like, one thing we talk about a lot is use the word omnipresence. We use the word obscurity. One thing that I guess that I pick up from you is that you want to make sure that everyone in the market knows you exist in one way or another. Yeah,
and you do get a bit of grief. I remember one of your videos, and he was saying about people hating you, and I think it was a guy called Grant Cardone as well, and he was saying you got to have haters, but it's true. It really is true. You get haters, but that's okay, because every hater you get should spur you on, because that means somebody loves you.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because I know that that's one thing that puts people off doing content, sending emails, doing videos, doing remarketing, is that they, you mentioned spammer, you mentioned, haters. Like, you must get a lot of that, I'm sure.
Look at me, come on. I mean, never happened, ever. I think when you're a fat lad from Huldrew, you sort of you have a bit of resistance to a rejection anyway, No, I think it's an important point, and what I would say to anyone with that is, money's better than ego. Do you want your ego? Or do you want money?
Spot on. Money's better than ego. Yeah. Because one of the big concerns, so again, for new clients, is that they have this concern about, but when we put something out there, we're going to piss somebody off. And yes, you are. but your attitude is money's better than ego is spot on. So I want to go back to something you said, just again, for those that don't know. One of the things that Steve talked about, he's driving to his website. And so if you go to Steve's website, by the way, you'll notice something. He's doing something called retargeting. So you go to his website, you have a look, you're not interested, whatever. But then every time you go online, you see Steve's ad again and again. He's displaying the ad to you. So I think it's a video at the moment, is it, Steve, that you're running at the moment?
It's a video on Facebook. But I'm just doing this webinar, so if you do it now, you won't get it. I mean, you still see the website. But I'm going to start pushing this webinar, which is a new strategy I've been doing some research, and webinars are a good thing to do. So we were pushing ebooks as a second bite of the cherry, and actually on the website it was for a long time it was a video on the key things you need to do before you sell your business. So that would be across to the sector, would be the key things you need to do as a candidate in order to secure the most money and leverage the best price for yourself, for your leverage the best salary for yourself.
Yeah. I'm just sharing the story. I remember talking to Steve. I remember it was a Thursday, talking to Steve, and we were talking about videos, the power of videos. And I said, look, let me send you this video. You have a look. By the following Tuesday, Steve had done his video. What was interesting, you'd literally copied it. I don't mind, by the way. You'd copied it.
Yours, basically, I think, hadn't I?
Absolutely.
More or less.
Yeah, but what struck me was it took him 4 days from, oh, right, okay, we'll do it. 4 days, 4 working days, and it was done. Not, I'm not sure this is right, didn't go for perfection or anything, just get it done. And it would have got him business. And
yeah, it's the 80-20 rule, isn't it? Is it, if a naff video will get you 80% of the results, get it out there. Get it out there, ship the product, get it done. And then if you want to, have a second bite of the cherry, go back and make it perfect. But one of the things you taught me as well is actually sometimes it looks good if it's not perfect because it's more real. And what you're actually after there is the connection, isn't it? It's someone talking your language. And I remember, I think it was one of your videos that first drew me to you many, many years ago, or the language that you use. And it's just like, this guy understands me. This guy's connected. And as long as you've got that, that's everything, right? It doesn't matter whether you've got a pretty backdrop or no backdrop or whatever, really. Or whether you slur a few words or make a mistake,
Around about, I hope Darren won't mind me saying this. Around at Christmas time, Darren did a I think it was just a post on LinkedIn. He had a photograph of his son with a Lego, and it was in between Christmas and New Year. Darren's post was something. In fact, Darren, let me come to you and just share that post that you put out between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, so I just put a post out that said that, I was due to be doing some work today, but my son's asked me to help him build his yacht or something like that. And it was just to get people to know that I was still there and I was still alive and kicking, and I think we had about 10,000 views of that, and just really good feedback. And I think a lot of people related to the fact that actually, in this time between Christmas and New Year, taking some time out with your kids is really important. So I think getting a message that people just connect with is really important, and it's not always the very deep, thought out. You've written 10,000 word dissertation and you think that's going to be the thing that everyone's going to love and think you're a really great guy about. It's about something that they can just connect with, and sometimes it can surprise you what that content can be.
Yeah, excellent, good point, Darren. Thank you.
So check in, everybody. Let me know in the chat box what's been your sort of biggest lesson, takeaway, reminder based on what Steve's covered so far today. Just let me know in the chat box. And while you're doing that, George has asked you, Steve, does following demand result in losing credibility as it's a new domain every time?
Sorry, Drew, you broke up then. Sorry, say again. Sorry.
Well, George has asked a question. Does following demand result in losing credibility as it's a new domain every time? And it becomes a case of good at all trades, master of none.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that would. So what I'm talking about is finding a sub niche within your existing sector, which you can specialize in. And that sub niche is where demand should exceed supply. So for example, when I was in the wealth management space, that was hit, working for banks, that was hit massively hard. So I couldn't provide those people to those clients for the fee that was used to, because frankly, commercially, that just wasn't viable anymore. But what was more viable was to look at the employee benefits sector. Now, that's providing advice to companies on their group pension schemes. And some of my candidates from the bank were appropriate for that sub niche. So that's where I could still charge a fee. That's where I was able to then position myself as being the guy that does that specific thing. So I'm saying the opposite of perhaps what's come across. I'm not saying spread your bread more across the water. I'm saying go more niche. Get your sector down even further, but be the best in that. So be a very big fish in a small pond, but make sure it's in demand.
Does that answer your question, George?
Yeah, perfect. Cheers, Steve.
Awesome. A few takeaways from people. Shell says take an action. Perry, just get on and do it. Darren, get shit done. Damien, just fucking do it. Mickey Trent said the fact that video is more important than connection than content. Yeah, awesome. Holly, again, just do it. John, just get video out there. Mike, just get done. Actually, everyone's almost on the same page. Just
yeah.
The key thing that people are taking. I want to sort of obviously it's been a journey for you to get to where you are now. I want to take you back to, I don't know what it would be, but everyone's got a goal, but we all want it sooner rather than later, right? If you could, why do you think it didn't happen for you sooner? What were you doing that was perhaps slowing you down or getting in the way?
Yeah, loads of things. With me, I'm not a slow learner. I'm all right academically, but I'll kind of learn something. But what I didn't really learn it. So I think I understood something, but then I'd see it from a different angle years later, and then only then I'd really understand it, and the penny dropped. So what have I done very badly? Recruit people into my own business, recruiting the wrong people, not strategically planning to have a constant stream of people, which is exactly what I was advocating to my clients, but not taking my own medicine. So then being desperate when someone left, or desperate because the market was good and I was trying to bring people in. So not doing psychometric testing, not having a proper training course, or trying to load too much on them up front rather than breaking down what is a complex job. I guess it was absorbing the culture of what I was brought up with, which is sort of like this, we're the elite recruiters, we're the SAS, you know, and it's good that people don't make it, because that just shows how tough this industry is and how good we are. And I kind of adopted that and expected turnover and expected people not to make it. And that was something that was wrong, I'd say. Definitely looking back on it. And that really held me back, because you can only grow so far on your own personal billings or having sidekicks. What you need is what I've got now, which is people as good or as better than I was on a desk. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of training, and really selecting the right people.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Every recruitment business owner here, their biggest challenge is finding good consultants.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a certain irony there that recruiters can't find other recruiters, but
yeah, and you know, over the years, so psychometric testing, there's a good one called Peak, which is a variation on the DISC profile, but it's for recruiters. That's an American firm, PEAC. Found that very useful. There's an SPQ, a sales preference questionnaire. So between Peak and SPQ, I found an Ouija board, of course. But that's really sharpened me up a lot. But also getting them on the phone for half a day, getting them on the phone. Enough training just to get on the phone, but will they pick up the phone? Because a lot of time I've had people that just won't pick up the phone. And then breaking down the job into smaller parts. So just doing the job orders or just interviewing the candidates, teaching one part of it to get good at it before you move on to the next part, rather than a 1 week or a 2 week training course up front, which just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. People come out of it and it's not really sunk in. They've not really grasped what they're supposed to be doing. They've got to do it. And that's taken me a long time. And I've chewed up a lot of people to learn that, which I probably read or was told about 20 years ago.
So what about so that's sort of business marketing strategy. What about on the mindset side? How do you think now compared to how you thought before, and maybe that way of thinking was perhaps slowing you down or stopping you getting what you wanted? Is anything changed on that front?
In terms of mindset, I don't know. I mean, I guess with each success as you go on in business, and I guess people hold themselves back. I think that's another thing I did. I was very grateful for the £5,000 or the £8,000 or even a £3,000 fee back in the day, and I probably didn't progress in terms of the types of deals I was putting together and the type of market I was operating in, like I should have done, for fear of not wanting to lose what I had. And I think that's probably true with some of the clients that didn't really want to pay me anymore, and I should have cut them loose sooner. So I guess it's self-confidence and the ability to know your worth. And that sounds really simple, but it's actually quite a complicated thing to get in your head, that I'm effing good at this. And they did that. How lucky are they to have someone like me on the phone to be able to recruit these people, close these deals for them? We're really lucky. So why, so once you have that, well, why wouldn't they want to pay for that? Because it'd be a bad decision not to. It really would. Yeah. But that took me time. Sorry.
I think everyone probably can resonate with that. In fact, let me check in. Does what do you resonate in a way what Steve said there? It could be yes or no in the chat box. So yeah, what I really want to know, Steve, is like what changed? Like I think, yeah, what was it that shifted in your mind, or maybe it was a physical thing that shifted? What was it that made you think, actually, I'm gonna, I'm worth more than this. I'm gonna charge more. I'm gonna move up the food chain.
Yeah, I think it's that beliefs, isn't it? But you need enough legs on your belief to really believe it. So I think the first time I did a 6-figure fee I couldn't believe that actually paid that to me. This was when I was running a desk personally, and I couldn't believe that I'd done that and the money had shown up. And that was a defining moment for me, was when that came in, and I was Yeah, I did that. And that.
What would you say to somebody, Steve, that hasn't done that, but you want to enhance? So you've got somebody in your team now. You want to enhance their belief, so they haven't got that deal in. What is? I know you're a big believer in mindset. What is it that you say to individual to say, but you can do that? What's your approach?
What would I say to them? Look, I mean, have you got a job that will give you that? Have you working on an assignment that will give you that? Have you got a candidate that will give you that? Are you, so whereabouts are you in that? Because the truth is, if you've got enough candidates at that level, or you've got enough jobs at that level, just keep firing, just keep working on those, and you'll get there. You'll get there. Because I'm a huge believer in the law of averages. Let's say I'm really naff and I've got a 1 in 100 chance because I've got a poor skill set. Well, if I tee 500 send-outs up, I'm going to get 5, aren't I? And how much money is that? So I'm not saying it's not a skills thing, but you get the skill by being on the pitch. You get the skill by teeing up those levels of send-outs. You get the skills by taking those jobs, turning clients into candidates, that kind of thing. And I just keep going at it. You'll get there because you will. You just will, because you outlearn the market, or you can outlast the market, or you can outwork the market. And if you're doing all three, there's nothing that'll stop you.
Just on that, what I'm getting from you, Steve, is that you're big on high volume. You're comfortable with failing. Actually, is what I said. You're comfortable with not being the best or not being good, but thinking, if I get enough out, if I do enough videos, if I do enough of this, eventually I'll get what I want, and I'll learn along the way.
Yes.
And I think that that probably is something that holds people back, is they don't want to go through that, learning curve. How do you deal with failure? What do you, what are your thoughts on how do you deal with it?
I'll have a little pity party, probably like everybody else. I dig my toe in a rug and think, that's crap. I wish I hadn't done that. I mean, it's quite a well-known thing that failure is good because it teaches you. I'm a great believer in success. Nothing teaches like success. Once you've got one, right, do that again, son. Right, okay, I'll do it again and again and again. So success is, I believe, the best teacher. But look, it's, first time you play football is the first time you get on the pitch, the best game you're ever going to play. First time you, I don't know, play chess, is that the best game you're ever going to play? It's not. That's just stupid. Or bake a cake. It's nonsense. The first cake you bake's never going to be your best one, is it? So, but it's just getting on and getting out there, getting that experience, and then doing your best, like Terry said, to model people who have got that experience and learn from them. Okay, yes, do that, but more importantly, get on and have a go and learn, because that's when you actually really learn, isn't it? When you're actually doing it, fiddling with stuff, and that didn't work out. That, I got bitten there. How dare I try and find him a new job when he's the CEO or wherever? Well, next.
Yeah, we've all been there. You talk about learning. One thing I was blown away with talking to Kimberly is the books that she'd read. And I said, have you heard this? And she'd go, oh yeah, I've read that. My dad told me about it. So, and I know, Steve, virtually every book that she'd read, she goes, oh, Dad told me about it. What are the books that you would recommend to the guys here? The books that have really impacted on you and your journey?
In terms of me personally, I used to smoke heavily, and there was a book by Tony Robbins called Awaken the Giant.
Yeah.
And that stopped me smoking. That understanding of the concept, what he was relating to there with pain and pleasure and the subconscious, and the understanding of how the subconscious was making me do something which was actually bad for me. And I think there's probably a lot to success within that book on a lot of levels. So I definitely recommend that. I'd say your book was actually a very good one, Terry.
Steve, I'm going to take fiber for that.
Not the first one. That wasn't so good. The second one was better. A guy called Steve Finkel's got a very good book called Breakthrough, which I would say anybody who's got 5 years plus experience will gain something from, particularly if you're running your own show or you're a manager. I'm a big fan of a guy called Brad Sugars. I don't know if you've heard of him, but his methodologies that's very, very useful. His 5 ways formula, instant cash flow, I think, was the one I first learned that from, which is very good, which is probably useful right now for some people. Instant cash flow. Your book, Steve Finkel's book. What else is there? Think and Grow Rich. I got a lot from that. That's an old one, but that's a very good one. The Magic of Thinking Big. That's something I took a lot from. I mean, rather than any specific books, it's just, if you like reading, that's great. If you don't like reading, the other tip I'd say is get something on in the car, because that's really not difficult to do. Is getting some good content on in the car. Okay, you got a bit of a sacrifice because you're not putting the radio on, but so what? And for half an hour, and everybody's got maybe 10 or 15 minutes commute minimum, really, every day, I guess. So it's really, really powerful, and a real game changer is to just have something positive on in the car.
Yeah.
That was very limited cost. Like a book I like reading, but not everyone does. I understand that. So that's an issue. And that's a lot of sacrifice for someone, whereas putting something on in the car and not listening to the local radio station or your favorite tunes for half an hour a day, that'll change. That'll change how good you are. Get something salesy on, get something business related on. That really changed my life, I think.
Yeah.
Probably also than anything else, 'cause it's new ideas, isn't it? And as long as you're in the habit of implementing stuff, then eventually you're going to get there, aren't you?
Yeah.
What was it? Even a team of 100 monkeys given infinity will produce your Wordsworth, won't they? So
that's from Awaken the Giant. You didn't that quote?
Is it?
Yeah. Awesome. Don said here, just go back to what you said earlier. Don's quote: "I've missed 9,000 shots in my career, and I've lost almost 300 games 26 times. I've been trusted to take game-winning shots and missed. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed." Michael Jordan. And if any of you guys haven't seen the Michael Jordan series, I really recommend it. Whether you're a fan of basketball or not, it's a great series. Thanks for that, Don.
You do miss stuff, don't you? I mean, I did this new thing. I thought it was going to change recruitment forever. It was called Wage Checker, and the idea was people found out what they should be earning by filling in various bits, and that's. Have a look, wagechecker.com. It's probably still up there. But I'd invested a lot in that, and I really believed in it. It flopped, didn't work. But you pick yourself up and you dust yourself down, and you just learn from everything,
Yeah, excellent. Hey, listen, let's really interesting from people in the group. Just share us what's been your.
Well, let's go. Let's come to we'll come to 2, 3, 4 of you to hear your thoughts, feedback. I'll start with you, Darren, then Mike, and then we'll go to a few other people as well.
I think it's great to see somebody and speak to somebody who's doing a lot of the things that we're doing, or a lot of the things that we're talking about. I think you've done it for a long time, clearly, and you keep doing it, and you're really consistent with the things that you're doing. And so it's really good to hear that. You still very passionately talk about and talk like a recruiter. I've still got the recruiter jargon, which is really good to see. And it's really good to see someone who's, on the journey and doing the things that we speak about with the guys on a week by week basis. And I think it's also really good to see, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, Steve, but it's really nice to see that an ordinary guy does these things and he's really successful and good at what he does, and that gives hope to all of us ordinary guys as well. I think you don't have to be something exceptionally different or exceptionally special to be really successful. And like I say, I mean that with respect.
Absolutely.
But I think that, having some good practices in place and taking advantages of opportunities that you see and when they come up. And I'm really interested to understand how you've, and I don't want to say the word pivoted because that's, almost being done to death right now, but how you've kind of seen opportunities and, how your journey has kind of digressed from where you started out recruiting and headhunting people to what you do now. I think that's a really interesting journey to see how you've evolved, what you're doing, and how your business has been done. But for me, it's a really, really good conversation, and really good to virtually meet Steve.
Mike?
Yeah, hi. I echo a lot of what Darren was saying, really. And it's quite interesting, though, to see how in your business, which is in essence is not a recruitment business, but it is, you're still applying the basic principles. And I know, because we met with Kimberly at one of the elites a few months back, you're still applying those basic principles today in your business. You haven't tried to do anything fancy. You're just sticking to what works and just doing, and by the sounds of it, doing a lot of it as well, which again, I think is a great message for anybody here today. I would be interested in one thing though. I mean, in the current market that you're operating in at the moment, Steve, how do you differentiate yourself between the competition that is out there?
How do we differentiate ourselves to the competition that's out there? Well, in a number of ways. I mean, I was saying before about outworking the market, outlasting the market, and outlearning the market. We've been there the longest, so that's helpful. And we've outlasted the market. Sure. But not everyone's got that advantage, but it does help if you've been beating the bushes for a long time, you know, in your marketplace. We use a lot of the expert authority. So we'll do, one of the things that I did found interesting was doing white papers on what would have translated across would be salaries. So for me, it was prices and what was driving those prices and new methodologies and payment schemes. But wherever you've got a candidate that's in demand, there's an opportunity to produce a white paper. And I found that really hooks, and that's quite a useful tool, is the white paper on it. And all it takes is to look through your back files of your candidates and see where salaries are going and who's doing what and what the new initiatives are, and your people know this, right? So I think there's a book called Rework which taught me that was in the process of your normal business, you'll throw up other stuff which is valuable. Sure. So that's, you can either sell, obviously, or what I'm doing with that in terms of prices is using that as content, as bait. So the white paper is really powerful because you're the authority then, right? You're the person that's conducted the survey. You're the not the survey, you know, that has that ability and that kind of level and depth and breadth of knowledge of your specific niche sector. So I found that really quite useful.
Just on that, Steve, what was the name of the book? Rework. Is that by Jason somebody?
Do you know, I'm not sure who wrote it, Terry, but Rework, I read it, it was a number of years ago now. Okay. It was the first thing as regards white papers, and that we could look at how regulation was affecting things, look at how, whatever industry you're in, there's things that are happening in it, and the white paper on that, or the white paper, how that's affecting the salaries and where salaries are heading, is stuff that people you know, really want to hear about and is really valuable to them.
Right.
So let's get away from 5 questions to ask before you use a recruiter and more into some technical stuff that actually really just shows. And the other thing was the testimonials was very powerful. So after every, we call it a market update appointment. So I have my business systemized. So there's various trigger points that will assist the consultant to maximize the opportunity that we've put in front of them. And one of the key things that I've seen a big uptick from, which was actually something you suggested, I think, last time you were over in my office, which was to do the testimonial videos. And that now goes out automatically after every first appointment. And I've seen conversion rates go through the roof because of that.
Social proof, yeah.
Yeah, so this is that 5 questions, you know, what were your concerns before you engaged with us? How have you found the, you know, that I don't know if you've covered that with everyone, presume you have, but
yeah,
very, very powerful, you know. All you need to do is record that, and we used just one of these doodly things to turn it into a video. So you've got the backdrop and the music of playing behind, and all these clients, and you're just reeling them out, client after client, saying how wonderful you are. Well, I've never, you know, I presume recruiters don't normally do that because it's really differentiated us.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you've got that.
Recruiters are reluctant. Sorry, Steve. Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of recruiters are reluctant to do it because they don't want to give the name of their client away. Because they think, if I do that, other recruiters are going to, and it's nonsense, by the way, because a client can't give you a testimonial, then give the business to somebody else. So it's not.
No, because it's consistency principle. So if I say, Terry Edwards is really good and has helped me make a lot of money, and another coach comes along, well, I've got to stick true with what I've said. So it's the opposite.
Yeah.
There's nothing to lock in a client than getting a testimonial from them.
Absolutely. Good, really good point there. Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
I've done to Christian.
Hi guys.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It's been fantastic. And to me, the best advice that I'm getting from you is that you took action on new things. You find out your new ways of doing things that perhaps as a recruiter sometimes is very difficult for us, like the one that you just guys mentioned, like getting testimonials and making public that sometimes you're working with A client or B client. I always see that as a threat, or I always see that as another recruitment agency can get my clients. But it's been a really good advice the whole session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just on that, guys, I'm sending this out after a market update. So after they've had I think you call it a triage call, is it, Terry?
Yeah.
We call it a market update, and the same thing though. First hooking on them. So we know who they are. So we know it's not another competitor. I mean, even if it was, so what? Because, they've got to be pretty desperate to pretend to be someone else and spend 20 minutes with one of my people. But the fear of that is mostly artificial. I get where it's coming from. But it's also that mindset, isn't it? That there's plenty of work out there. There's plenty of business. There's a big world. And it's actually, if you could just get out there and make a contribution, that's the only thing you have to worry about. The money will take care of itself. Just get out there and make a contribution. But yeah, no, because once they see that, I think if my guy's not even had the best appointment, it just seems to carry them over the line, even if the call's not gone as well.
Right.
It means that they'll get back in there again. It means that the person will give us the benefit of the doubt, and that kind of thing. Whereas without that, because there's nothing, I don't think there's anything more powerful than that. And we have about 6 or 7 that just, it's just one after the other, after the other, after the other. So it's just, it's just relentless. And I don't know. And we see that they get watched as well. I don't know how many even watch it all the way through because I haven't got that level of technology, but I can see they watch it. And so yeah, that'd be one of the key things. I'd say, which is powerful. And the other thing is monitoring your people as well. I mean, we've got, I was using a send out board for years. We've translated that into a wall board now, so electronically. We can do a lot more KPIs on that. I don't know if this is useful for you guys.
Yeah.
So the phone system monitors how many calls people have made, how long they've been on the phone. And the people hated it at first. They hated it. There's a lot of resistance to this. But sometimes you've got to crack a few eggs to make an omelette. Now they actually really enjoy it because they can look up and they can see where they are and how hard they've worked and where they've been doing stuff. So that's monitoring themselves on a daily basis, which is really useful, particularly in downtimes like this. But also how many marketing bits of inventory they've sent out, so candidates or jobs that they've sent out using the CRM, how many send-outs they've arranged, how many seconds, how many offers, and then of course the billings. So it's all there on the board all the time. So even the new guys can compete on phone time.
Yeah. There's an interesting point there. If you can measure something, you can manage it. If you want to improve your performance in any area of your business, start to measure it now. You can't help but improve, whether it's whether it's calls, sales call. We only started doing this in the last month or so. I record my own sales calls, and that's improved our performance. It's very powerful, I promise you. But measure every aspect of your business, because once you measure it, you've now got the formula of what you need to do to achieve what it is you want to achieve.
Yeah. And you were saying there recording. We know our system records phone calls. That was probably one of the biggest quantum leaps we've had, because we've doubled in the last 18 months, and it might have been, you do a lot of things at once, so you never know quite exactly which has had the most profound effect. But I do a session a week with each one of my guys now doing call listening. So I'll either pick a random call or they'll bring a difficult call. And I've been beating the bushes 20 years. So it's not that I'm a sales genius, but when you've got 20 years experience and your people haven't got that. So just listening to their call, really, even if they were to listen to it on your own, like you're doing, Terry, is massive. But when you've got someone who's particularly experienced at running a desk there, I found that the best way to bring people on skill-wise. You know, from a difficult fee negotiation through to closing an offer acceptance, through to stopping a runaway on time frames on the making the offer, through to framing problems with the client. You know, everything's there, and it's an hour a week, and then we use a start, stop, continue model. I don't know if your coaches will probably be aware of that. So I just get them to write down from the call what they're going to start doing, what they're going to stop doing, what they're going to continue doing. And then we agree a sign for the phone. And they go through the start, stop, continues a couple of times before the next time we meet. And that, on an ongoing, continual improvement basis, has really quantum leaped the skill set of my people. And I'd recommend everyone does that. You know, it was a real game changer.
What do you
think they are? Sorry.
What do you use to record the calls? The question from.
It's part of the phone system. So it's just a phone, electronic phone system, and it records it. But you guys can, you can do it on mobile phones. You can record calls, so just get your people going calls, and you will get resistance because they don't like it. You know, they don't want the bonnet lifting up and what they're doing, because salespeople only like to be, you know, measured on fees that they do. But you're actually doing them a disservice if you don't do it, because they're not going to be as good as they could be. And anyone that's ran a desk for 5 years plus knows a lot more than you think you know, and it all comes out when you're listening to the calls, and it's really useful. So that's how we've managed to push on, and we've cut down the length of time it takes to get someone into a top performing status, probably by about 2 years, because it was taking 2 or 3 years to get people up really firing. We've cut that down to about a year.
John, going to come to you next, and then Matt Taylor.
Hey, all right, thanks, Drew. Hi, everybody.
Hi, John.
Hey, I think Drew just wanted me to chat a little bit about the getting our brand out there. And this speaks right to Steve, what you're talking about. Just do the freaking, just get it done, you know? So I think I have been in the program for maybe 2.5 months now. I set some goals very early on in the awesome kickoff training. My coworker, Kathy Provo, is on the call today. And she know we had big plans, and we've been moving forward with those plans. But a big lesson learned for me was I set this massive goal for our content, almost too much perfection, right? And I don't know if I just was excited about some of my personal goals and making sure the content hit with those just right. But I definitely overthought it to a certain degree. I think we have some good content coming, but it's just taken a long time to get it out there. Finally got an article published, and so we're excited about that. And but just to give an example, like 3 weeks ago, Terry was like, just make a video, John, get it out there. Take one of the emails you did that was pretty good, just a email blast, and just put that in a video. And I did it, and I was like, that sucks. And I have 3 weeks, hadn't gone back to it. And then I saw Claire's Facebook video over the weekend, because I was waiting in my vehicle with my daughter to get COVID tested because she had a potential of being exposed. And so as we're just kind of sharing stuff on social media, I said, hey, Sid, you know what I do for a living, right? She's like, yeah, Dad. She's 17, by the way, wonderful young lady. And we're just hanging out. And I said, hey, so I need to do this. I need to get a video out. And we looked at Claire's, and it was just very genuine to job seekers, I believe it was. And it was just a personal message to say, hey, every week we're going to do a thing for job seekers to learn. Or I think she was opening up her diary, or it might have been like a collective, like learn from each other too. So it was just reassurance that you just need to get yourself out there, right? Get a video and get it going. And I think I'm happy to be a part of this group, and I'm glad to be a little more active back in it now. Thanks for coming to me, Drew.
Thanks for sharing, John.
Yeah, Matt Taylor.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I mean, me personally, I'm a week into this, so a lot of it's very new. Yeah, a lot of new stuff for me. But I think the biggest one for me was the sort of money over ego. I spend a lot of time questioning decisions, pros and cons. Is it right to do this? Is it not? And I probably spend more time thinking about it than actually doing it. And you know, there's not a lot of cons, a lot really that I'm putting down. So yeah, just getting stuff out there, and just in general everyday business work, just making more decisions and just sticking to it, taking the fear out of it. Really, it's probably my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, Matt, I've got to say, mate, that's a massive breakthrough. If you that is absolutely massive. If you come to that is absolutely frigging massive. Well done, buddy. Brilliant.
Cheers.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done. Thanks, Sharon.
Any other questions before we finish up? If you do have questions, just unmute and say it. If not, Steve, if you could sort of give everyone one sort of key takeaway to go away with, what would it be?
What would it be? Yeah, I mean, just on what Matt was saying there, Terry's stuff, or the stuff that you guys teach, the emails that you write, the language, I don't like it. And some of the way you do videos, I don't like it. And the idea of pummeling my list twice a week, I didn't like it. But that point of money being better than ego, every time I've done what I thought best versus what Mr. Edwards has thought best, has outperformed me quite significantly. And that's what matters, right? It's not about what I like or what you like, well, what people think is right. It's what works. That's the only useful measure. So that would be my thing. Do what works, and try this guy's methodology first, because your sector isn't that different. Mine wasn't, and even if I'm in a completely different business theoretically, then it still works.
Thanks for that, Steve. Thank you. Can I ask one more question, Steve?
Yeah.
If I came to work for you as a consultant or whatever, and I said, Steve, I want to be successful, and what is it I need to do in terms of mindset? What would the mindset be that you kind of know, if I had that mindset, I would be successful?
Continual learning, I think is the key. Continual learning, the humility, the humbleness to not. You can't develop anyone or push them on whilst they think that they're at the top of the game or they've got nothing to learn. So almost the first stage of getting better at something is to realize that there's still some way to go on it. And I think that ability to keep learning, to half an hour a day developing yourself on your career, because that's where the big money's made. It's the half an hour in the car. It's the odd sales book, the odd management book, the keeping in touch with what's going on in your industry. That's the stuff that makes top performers, but also top managers and top business owners. So that would be what I'm looking for, Terry. And you are very welcome, and I have an open space for you. And I'll give you very good opportunities. And come on in, the water's lovely.
Yeah. Cheers, Steve. I appreciate that. Seriously, mate, I really appreciate that. And I think it's a really good point there. And it's interesting, because just going back to you, Matt, I'm going to kind of embarrass you a bit. I just get that you've had a bit of a breakthrough there with what you shared with us there. And it is opening up to that learning. That's where it comes. And we say to everybody, I get that you think this may not work, but kind of put that aside and just go and implement it and test it. I get that you're fearful that you're going to get criticized and, you've got a boil on the end of your nose or whatever it is that you're concerned about. Just do it. Because it's only when you do it, you get the results. And it never has to be perfect. And by the way, it will never be perfect, ever. Ever. I remember very quickly, Drew and I went to see Steve, I don't know, about a year ago, 2 years, I can't remember. We had lunch and everything. We came back and we were talking about the 9-word email. And literally, we had a chat, we had a meal, went back to his office, we just shared them. Bang. By the end of the day, he's had his 9-word emails done. At the end of the day, and we were there for 4 hours. Bang, yeah, I've got it done. These will go out on Monday. And, Drew, we got the train to Steve. And I remember on the train, I said, that's Steve all over. You just share it with him. He goes, yeah, I'll get it done. I'll just get it done. There's no hanging around.
I think commercially, as business owners, we've got to be shameless thieves of good ideas. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? If someone's got something that works or has tried, try it. I don't get what the resistance you know, why you wouldn't, other than you don't think it works. But we'll test it, because it did, you know, it did for me. But it was only 9 words, Terry. It wasn't hard, that one.
But you still did it. You still did it. Excellent. Steve, I can't thank you enough. Absolutely, really appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. I hope it's been some use for you, for someone listening. So I hope I've had some value for you. And yeah, lovely to meet you all. No doubt you'll go from strength to strength and make lots of money and have nice lives.
Excellent. Steve, thank you very much indeed. You take care, buddy.
Right, cheers then. See you guys.
See you. Bye. Bye. Awesome. Absolutely brilliant. Some great stuff there. You still there, Drew?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you're back. Yeah.
In for us tomorrow, 3 p.m. Triage feeders of conversion secrets, and then of course on Monday for the Momentum Mondays. Any questions in the meantime? Post in the group. Book your one-on-ones. We're happy to help. Speak to you soon. Until then, take care, take action, and be relentless.
Cheers, folks.
Thanks, guys.